What's up, guys? It's Mike back here with Triple Crown Sports. Happy to welcome on Danny Bates with the Don Reynolds Baseball Group, scouting our TC top prospects. Danny, thanks for jumping on, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. And I'm excited to be here. I've been excited about this whole process throughout the summer. It's been wonderful working with Triple Crown Sports, and I'm looking forward to getting out on the field here in the next couple of weeks with these young guys and imparting some information to them. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So give us a little bit of background about yourself with baseball within your life, you know, from a young guy growing up into college and then even professionally.
I kind of was introduced to the game as part of just a young kid in the 70s. You know, we just played sports. I mean, we didn't have video games or anything. You either rode your bicycles, you went to the park, and you played football, basketball, soccer, whatever was in season, and that's what we did. And everyone that I grew up with, we all played multiple sports. We went from each sport throughout the season. And with that, I guess, you know, when I first started as a peewee, one of the first practices, you know, coach, of course, is looking at everybody as a pitcher and put me on the mound. And I just had a natural gift to throw strikes. And I started out my first year as a pitcher. And that's kind of where I was indoctrinated with the game. And I loved to throw. Of course, I played football. I was a quarterback. And it just kind of naturally fit for me. So because of my love for throwing, it just naturally became something that I fell in love with. Through the years, I actually was going to go to college once I graduated high school to play basketball. And one of my former amateur coaches came to me and said, "Are you sure you want to do that? I think you may need to take a look at baseball." And so my summer of my senior year, I played baseball for the first summer since my freshman year in high school. And I ended up going on in that fall and going into play at a 4-year school. And my first semester, I'll never forget, once I got to the campus, all the guys told me I should be playing in junior college. So they immediately helped me find a junior college that would fit for me. And I went on to junior college and played 2 years. And from there, after 2 years, I went on to the University of Houston and played my final year. So it was not the traditional route that most people take in school, because I was basically a crossover athlete, going to school to play basketball and end up crossing over into my freshman of my college year into baseball and end up playing 1 year professionally with the Houston Astros. And when you have multiple sport athletes, it's not unusual for them to be able to jump from one sport to the next. And I have two other examples. There's a number of examples that have done it. But for my area, Junior Spivey did the same thing. He was a basketball guy his freshman year at Northwestern State in Oklahoma. And he made the transition to junior college that spring. And I went to Cali, Kansas, and went on to become an all-star in the major leagues and played in the World Series. Matt Kemp, who played with the Dodgers, of course, everybody knows Matt Kemp. He was the same way. Coming out his senior year, he was going on to school to play basketball, and it ended up being drafted by the Dodgers in, I believe, the 6th round. And 3 years later, he's in the major leagues as a perennial center fielder and all-star. So I fell under that realm, a multi-sport athlete who someone guided me to this sport. I fell in love with it, and I was able to excel to a higher level. I took it as far as I could, and of course, I fell in love with the game, and it's been a part of my life for the past 35 years. Wouldn't change it for anything.
So talk to us a little bit more about how you got into scouting specifically.
The scouting came as somewhat of a surprise. After I got done playing a year with the Astros, I actually went back to school. I was 23 at the time, and I went back to school to finish my degree. And I got my degree in criminal justice, went on to work for the state of Oklahoma, and I went on to work in some federal government programs. And we had the unfortunate incident. I was working at the time across the street from the bombing in Oklahoma City. And during that time, we were all dislocated downtown. We didn't really there was not any work going on. So during that time, I needed something to kind of fill in the time that we had from what had happened. And I got involved in coaching high school baseball. And 2 years later, I guess the school was new. It was Edmond Santa Fe High School in Edmond, Oklahoma. It was a new high school. The program had been around for a year, and I joined the coaching staff there and continued on for the next 2 years. And I guess we had accelerated into a nationally ranked team by year 3. We had went to some national tournaments, beat a few teams. Most importantly, Modern Day out in California, Pace High School out of Florida in the national tournament. And at that time, people saw me again, of course. Some of the scouts who scouted me that I didn't know that scouted me actually saw me, and I became a bird dog scout for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And a year later, I was hired by the Atlanta Braves. And it just kind of somewhat happened, I guess. In this industry, people are looking for people who are compassionate about their work, who are interested in the industry. At the time, I really didn't know how to get into the industry. And I was basically introduced to it and applied, and was asked if I'd like an opportunity to work for the Atlanta Braves. Of course, at that time, the Braves were winning championship after championship. I couldn't see anything, telling me no, not to do it. It was one of the best decisions I had ever made in terms of not only joining a top-ranked organization based in scouting and player development, but also really, really appreciating the scouts and their player development department. John Sherholtz was a wonderful leader. Of course, Dayton Moore was a product of that regime at the time. My scouting director, Roy Clark, and I had a lot of wonderful teachers along the way to help me develop my baseball acumen. So it was a great choice.
Nice. So speaking of scouting and being part of Don's group with the TC Top Prospects, was there any expectations that you had coming in whenever you talked with Don in this role that you're in now?
I don't know if there was expectations per se. I think Don had done his job in vetting out the scouts that he was bringing on board. And from the first time I walked in the room and saw the personnel that I was going to be working with, said a lot of experience, guys with a lot of knowledge pertaining to baseball, not only baseball in terms of the game, how the game is played, but just their experience scouting talent and the conversations that we have about young players that we do watch. You can tell it's a very experienced group, a very compassionate group, and you just tell by the feel in the room that it is a room full of people who are passionate and love the game. So I guess if those were the expectations, I guess we all fell into the right place. But
Right.
It's been a wonderful experience.
So whenever you guys are in that room together, you guys are out on the field and you're scouting or evaluating players, and aside from the normal measurables like 60-yard dash time and arm strength or being able to hit with power, what are some other things you're looking for, especially in young players, these 14, 15-year-olds that are outside of those normal tools or measurables that we see all over the internet all the time?
I think what we all look for is how the players take the field and how they play the game. There's a lot that can be told by a player's genuine love of being out there that day. We come to the field to watch guys show us their talent. And usually if there's a lot of life, smiling, high-fiving, communication with teammates and coaches, those are the biggest things that we look for, because in this game that we play, everybody's going to have a bad day. But how is that bad day going to affect you? The days when you're not hitting the walk-off home run and getting the walk-off base hit. How are you towards others? Baseball is an individual game within a team game, and your body language, how you communicate with your teammates and your coaches, you're a part of that wheel. And if you're not having a great day, can you help your teammate have a great day? And how do you exude that? Because we're looking for guys who are going to be in an industry and going to be playing a game with a lot of failure. And what is their attitude? Do they make other players around them better? Do they make coaches better? There are some players that make coaches better. Good players make coaches better because they make you think about what you're doing and how you're applying it and how you're translating it to the team. So that spirit and what we're looking for, really everybody in the stands should feel it. And when you have that player or that team that's out there, it's very easy to identify it.
Right. So with all, and I know we talked briefly before this, with everything now in 2021 and all the new technology, but also how that goes hand in hand with the game, how have you seen that kind of affect the game from back whenever you were playing at the University of Houston to whenever you were a scout to the Braves until now? Have you seen a change at all in players individually or just the way the sport's played in general?
I think the technology has always been there. Video has been around for a long time. I think how it's being applied is the biggest change. How we're using it to grade or scout players has changed, and how we use that information day to day and grafting out a game strategy has changed. It's become more prominent and more involved. I think the information is getting to the point where it's more precise. But then again, it's up to the manager to understand how to apply it. How does it apply to his players? How does it apply to his coaches? How does it apply to in-game situations? I think that's the biggest thing that we're trying to refine right now. I think the biggest problem with the amateur level is that players are allowing the numbers to push them into things that they're not able to achieve right now. I think for most younger players, and I'm saying 14 and up, or really even you can go down to 10 and up, is skill development. They may grade out a little higher amongst their age group, but the skill development is mostly the most important part at that age. Once they get to 15 and 16, now we can start seeing how the numbers can affect performance. Once you've developed that skill up into 14 and 15, now can you turn it into actual pure game performance? If you've done your homework right and you've sharpened the skills, once you get to a certain age, now we'll see the measurables will start to speak what we can forecast in terms of a future major league player. But the skill development is something that's always going to have to be there. They work hand in hand. You can be a highly skilled player and not be the strongest player and still be a very good player. You can be a very strong player and not heavily skilled, and your physical ability can still push you into the major leagues. So one of them has got to be high. And if you have both of them, if your measurables are really high and your skill levels really high, we're looking at an all-star player. If he can go out and apply it to the field in day-to-day performance. So they both work hand in hand. But I think players need to understand that if you don't measure up to the 60 time or the exit velocity or the throwing velocity, you can still make up for it with skilled base running, timely hitting, learning how to hit the ball behind the runner, moving runners over. And also you can learn how to command the strike zone, put the ball in particular areas in the strike zone. So that's the skill component to it. So I just want them to understand that along with these measurables, there's skills that you still have to continue to develop to become a complete player. So,
do you think some of those skills can sometimes get missed with all the numbers and the technology now with spin rates and everything like that? Or is there anything that you think gets missed more now than what it used to with all the different analytics?
I think for the traditional scouts who came along before all the measurable numbers, I don't think they miss as often. I think they're looking at a different animal in terms of how does this apply with what I've already experienced. I think that's a little bit tougher call for them because they've seen so much, and you really have to be at a point where you can explain to them how these numbers are determining what they actually have seen. I think with the younger generation of scouts, they're more reliant on the numbers because they don't have the years of experience behind them. So they don't know when a guy goes 0 for 4, 0 for 5, for 3 days in a row. They don't know if it's, how do you turn that player around? You can't turn them around with numbers. So now you're looking at a different beast where I've been there and seen players go 0 for 21 in a series. And I know there's nothing on a sheet that I can pick up that's going to help them. It's going to have to be a more traditional like approach, because the exit velocity is probably still there. The swing speed is probably still there, but now it's going to be more of a mental type correction. That's going to take my experience, my training, my years of watching players, go through this period in their careers. That's probably going to help them get out of that particular situation. So I think that's where it is now. I think it'll roll back around to traditional scouting as more of the young generation come in and figure out, okay, this is not actually working. We need something else here. What is it? And I think they'll find that, of course, through experience comes knowledge. And I think this is something that we're still going through some early stages of it. We're starting to understand how we want to apply it to teams. And I think by the time, we get another 5 or 6 years in, we'll understand how this and how we balance traditional baseball and the measurables that we're looking at.
Right. So another piece of technology that has been a big part, especially now, is social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you had to give any advice to a player or their parent or a coach of a club team or an organization as a whole on social media, what would that advice be?
I think it's good for the game. I think it's good for building the next fan base. I think it's good for building the excitement surrounding the development of the players. I do also caution that, I always ask my parents, you send me all the good videos, send me a couple of strikeouts, because that's where I'm most effective. When I see, I know if you hit a home run and it's on social media, I know all 4 of your at-bats were home runs. It can happen, but the chances of it happening 2 days in a row are probably, it's not going to happen. So we learn things from the other side of the game also. Can you send me a bad video? The strikeout you had, you went 2 for 2, but you had a strikeout in there. Can you send me a video of the walk that you had? Those are some things that I can learn a lot by watching those videos. So I just want to, tell the parents, yes, social media is great. It's great for recruitment. It's great for exciting. It makes for a great highlight video. But there's also some things to be learned from the other part of the video that we can learn from also. So I think it's going to grow the game. I think it's continuing to grow. I think it tells a picture. I don't think it gives the complete picture, but I think it gives you an insight on young players, some of their abilities, some of their ability to handle in-game situations. But in terms of a coach or a manager, it doesn't really give me the complete picture. And I want the whole picture, because I think once I get the whole picture, then I think I'm most effective in helping the player.
Right, right. So leading into that, or I know you've been on social media a little bit, and you're actually one of the head coaches of the TC Top Prospects team going out to Pathway, Arizona here in a couple of weeks. What's one of the big messages that you're looking forward to, give those players and those parents that'll be, playing in that event with you?
The biggest message is to have fun, grow within the game, letting the parents know that this is a journey, and your job as the parent is to continue to nurture his talents and support him. I think too many times we can see parents, actually want it more than the kid, but the kid has to learn a lot about themselves. I think, going through this process with us, and most of us being scouts and former coaches, they'll get a real good feel of what it's like to be a professional for a day. Young things that we take 18-year-old minor league players through, because the biggest thing is helping them understand who they are, not only as a person, but as an athlete, and who they are as a person, as an athlete on the field. We're very experienced guys. We have a lot of years of experience, and I think that along with that, and helping them learn how to have fun, along with learning and how to apply these skills to their individual game, I think is the biggest thing that we're trying to get out of these young players. It's really exciting. It's going to be exciting time, because we all had an interest in each one of these players being written up, the scouting reports we wrote on, and being selected. So I can say with confidence that once I walk out there, we'll have players that we feel like or do have qualities to continue to proceed, into college and into professional ranks.
Right, right. So out there, I know you guys are doing a little Q&A with some of the parents and players there. Besides, what you were talking about earlier with parents, what's another piece of advice for a parent of any athlete in any sport, not only just baseball?
Well, have fun. Once you get to this age, it goes awfully fast. Enjoy every moment of it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, and stay in the moment. This is a career, and parents should help them make career decisions. These decisions are going to be very tough. They're going to be very challenging. But the biggest thing is to go out every day and do your best. Soak up all the knowledge that you can. And as part of our development, I like to see players who will communicate with me, because my job is to help them through my experience. And the more conversation I can draw out of them, and the more questions I can draw out of parents, then I think the better I can help them.
Right. It's all about a lot of questions. You don't know the answers if you don't have the questions to go along with it, right?
Right. Hopefully, there's not any such thing as a stupid question, because each one of us is filled with, trust me, tons of baseball stories. And you learn through those baseball stories. And a lot of those young players will learn through our stories. The scouting profession and the coaching profession, no day is the same. Every day you wake up, you don't know what you're going to see on the baseball field. You don't know what you're going to see in practice. Each day is totally different. It's unlike any profession that you ever have. And that's with any sport. No day's the same, no game's the same, no practice is the same. So if you can take someone like who I love to have as part of the staff, God dog it, I hate that his name is slipping my mind right off the top of my head. uh, Holiday, Coach Holiday, Dave Holiday. He has been through so many levels, and Mike Toomey also, Don also. Just to hear, he's also the uncle of Matt Holiday, and then his brother's Tom Holiday, and then his nephew is Josh Holiday. So it's a complete baseball family. So just to sit around and hear him talk about Dave Hatcher and some of the players that he's seen come up and grow is tremendous. And, just to have one of those young kids engage him in those talks, I think would be tremendous because he has to be engaged. And if they engage with those talks, they'll be surprised at the experience and the stories that he'll be able to share about all these different players.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they learn the most is the history of the guys that they're watching on TV, where they came from. When we scouted them, where were they at? Most people don't know that a lot of major league players we find in very small towns of 5,000, 6,000. Some of them don't even, when you look at their fields, they don't even have a stands behind the baseball field. Sometimes it was just a bench there. And, it's just remarkable to watch where we find them and their growth once they get there. It's a rewarding experience. I think each one of these guys that are here have experienced that. And I think that's what keeps us excited about it, keeps us excited about watching the next group come through and watching the next group grow.
Right. Well, we're excited for the next group to come through here too. This is obviously the first year that we've had this relationship with, you guys and the Don Reynolds baseball group and TC Top Prospects. So it's all brand new, to everybody as far as what we're trying to put together here. But if there's one thing, because I know you've been to a lot of tournaments over the summer and evaluating these players, if there's one thing that you would say is a little bit different about the TC Top Prospects compared to some other organizations that might be trying to do something very similar, what would you say that difference is?
You have real scouts writing real reports. I guess it's like the show Real Sports. Now, I think I think we're unique because they've went out and they've actually hired real scouts to write real reports, and they've allowed us our freedom to grade these players through our eyes, our experience, our knowledge. They didn't put any restrictions on us with that, and they allowed us to be who we are, and you can't ask for much more. So I think with that, it allows us to give those players a true evaluation from our experience, and there's a lot of experience in this staff. So if we've written you up, we've selected you, we've talked about you, we've shared what we like about you, we've shared it with our other, scouts in the room. It's a very fortunate thing. I remember the first time a scout came up to me and handed me his card. I was just the most ecstatic, 17-year-old kid that you could find. So it's a rewarding experience. And I think those experiences is what kept driving me. And I hope this keeps driving these players and these parents to help these players seek out their dream, whether it's play college baseball, play professional, and of course, play in the major leagues. So I think we're unique with that, and Triple Crown has done a very good job accommodating us all.
Yeah, well, we love having you guys out there. I know I was in Omaha with my team for a little bit and had a chance to talk with Don, and you guys have been working hard up back in the stands for us. I know everybody at Triple Crown really appreciates all the hard work you guys are putting in, but I don't want to keep you too long. So I appreciate you jumping on here, Danny. We're looking forward to seeing what you guys do out there in Tucson coming up in a couple weeks here. September 17th, I think is whenever it's getting started. So I'm looking forward to seeing you out there, man. Appreciate you jumping on.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you, Triple Crown Sports, and hopefully we can bring another great venue to these young players and give some parents some answers that they've probably been looking for. and have a great weekend at the field. Hopefully this turns into something that we can do annually every year, and it only gets better each year. So thank you for having me, and look forward to seeing you this coming week. Well, next week.
Yep. Sounds good, Danny. Take care, man.
All righty. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Bye.
Bye bye.